Hello friends, welcome to Creator King. You can't even imagine the invention I'm bringing you today. This will make your life at home easier and keep your mother happy without spending a ton of money. To begin, we'll need a pair of toy car tires and two little yellow motors. Connect the tires to one pivot on each motor. On second thought, maybe your mom won't be too fond of the next step, as it involves one of her prized food storage containers, which we won't treat very well, but every good invention involves sacrifice. After drilling a couple of holes with your soldering iron, apply instant glue on the free motor pivots and insert them into the container. Find an old blunt box cutter from your school supplies, which we'll use to make a large hole in one of the short sides of the box. Now start praying that your mother doesn't ground you for eternity and hit you with a flip-flop for ruining one of her best food containers. Glue another pair of toy motors to the sides of the box and borrow toothbrushes from your mom, dad, and brother. With a saw, slice off the heads of the toothbrushes to get their bristles. They will remain faithful to their initial purpose, but with a twist. Once we have all three in our possession, look for a straw which we will recycle by cutting it into small pieces. With your powerful hot glue dispenser, apply this sticky substance on the back of the brush to attach one of the straw pieces to it. Place more on the inside of the straw to fuse it to the lower pivot of the motor. Replicate the step with another brush. Can you guess what this beauty will be used for? Exactly! At last, we have our own clean bot. Only more rustic and cheap, but better than nothing, right? Glue a couple of small pieces of wood next to the brushes and get another straw that's so bad for our turtle friends. Cut a small piece from this wooden stick, which, together with the piece of straw and the two large brush heads, will assemble the main broom of our cleaning robot. Insert the wooden stick into the straw with the brushes and check that it rotates easily. Then glue it to the pieces of wood that we attached to the motors a few moments ago. Add a couple of rubber bands to the equation and make the missing material appear out of nowhere with your supernatural inventor powers. 5 engines is quite a lot, isn't it, Kevin? Where do you think that our poor subscribers are going to get all this advanced machinery from? Yeah, you're the Creator King. We'll do whatever you say. With the rubber bands attached to both motors, our toilet bot can now put the central broom to work. Oh yes, your mother wishes she could move the broom this efficiently. With a snap of your fingers, here are all the pieces of wire we'll need to start the electrical circuit. Connect the front motors to each other starting with the red wires, then connect the black ones as you see in the video. Connect one of these switches to its pins and glue it to the lid. We'll also need a 9-volt battery. You can get some on Amazon if you want. This isn't sponsored, since some people get intense in the comments. After connecting the snap to the battery, take your soldering iron again and solder all the connections. With that power, there won't be any stain or dust particle that it won't clean. From this remote control car, we'll take the necessary electronic components so that our robot cleaner can be controlled from the comfort of your bed. Install the necessary batteries and get more cables to connect the motors that will be in charge of the movement of our whole invention. Advanced engineering, boys! Get another wooden rod which we'll superglue to a corner of our robot. Add an extra Nerf dart to it to simulate an antenna. Glue a piece of semi-folded plastic on one of the edges of the opening and you'll be able to send it on its way to pick up the mess from your room. If I were you, I would throw your broom away, since we will never need to touch one again in our lives. Look, Mom, I finally cleaned my room like you asked me to. What's that? What? Of course, that's not your new container. No, Mom, not the flip-flop. For the following invention, we will need a very cold can of Coca-Cola to enjoy its delicious content. Take some toilet paper and clean the opening of the empty can. Buy 320 grit water sandpaper at the nearest hardware store. We're going to use the well-known trick of mercilessly scraping the top of the can in order to remove it. Wrap a wire around the soda can at a quarter of the way up and use a permanent marker to mark a couple of lines indicating where to use the sharp box cutter. Remove the marked section completely and as carefully as possible. Leave the can to the side for the moment and pay attention to the popsicle sticks. Admire their wooden perfection. Glue 2 popsicle sticks horizontally on the back of the can, which will hold it in place. Next, cut another piece of stick with scissors. On that piece of wood, we'll draw a row of sharp pointed teeth, like those of the fearsome great white sharks. Then cut them out. This will be the sharp saw that will send any filthy vermin to the beyond. Glue another popsicle stick on top of it. Try not to cover the teeth. Cut off one of the rounded ends of the new popsicle stick and repeat the same with 3 more. Superglue the 2 sticks together in the way you see on the screen to serve as a support for the dangerous wood saw. Reinforce the entire structure by gluing a few more popsicle sticks to the supports and at the top between the other sticks. This way, our medieval mousetrap will have a limit that will prevent the saw from slipping out of place. Get a few hair ties, which you can borrow from your sister. Use these to connect the ends of the straw to the base of the invention, creating a spring effect. To keep the blade up as the prey approaches, cut a stick used to roast marshmallows and sausages. All that remains is to prepare the bait, which you'll use to lure the plague of rats to their final destination. Put the bait inside the can and jam the saw with a wooden stick. With this last part ready, we now just have to observe how the pests that haunt your house will lose their heads. Don't tell me it's not more fun like this. Or am I the only person with mental problems here? With the last invention, we will turn our simple drone into one of combat to destroy our enemies with. Start by removing the supports from a pair of syringes and cut the bottom opening with a pair of pliers. Turn on your soldering iron and allow it to heat up so you can enlarge the holes in the syringes. When the syringes have become no more than a couple of plastic tubes, get a metal scouring pad from which we will only need 2 small pieces. Here is a little physics demonstration about how protons, electrons, neutrons, and all that energy stuff move through the metal spring by heating it up. We'll need to connect a cable to each end so that this happens in the same way in our invention. Cut some duct tape to wrap the wires in to keep them as tight as you are stuck to your bed every morning. With a snap, a pair of Nerf darts appear, which will be the objects we will throw to attack our enemies. With scissors, cut most of the dart. Then get a sheet of paper in any color and cut it into 3 parts. We'll only need the smallest ones. With the help of a wooden stick and a glue stick, roll up both strips of paper like a taquito. By the way, more than 400,000 students are already enrolled in the Creator King School of Inventions. Who would have thought? Apparently, I'm good for something. Thank you all. I would tell you guys that I love you, but that would be kind of uncomfortable. It's been a while since I made my famous recipe of magical matchstick powder. It feels good to go back to your beginnings. Take a lot of matches from the box since you'll need enough to achieve the chain reaction we want. Start cutting the match heads with the help of your favorite pliers until you have a big pile. Cut a small square of aluminum foil on which we will put the leftover pieces of wood. I hope you haven't discarded them. Wrap the pieces of wood into an aluminum ball and pierce it with any sharp tool you have on hand. With our impoverished ash stove ready, heat it with a long lighter for several minutes until it turns completely black. Let's see how well they cooked. It turned into coal. Grind the charred wood with a container of Play-Doh to a fine ash before adding the secret ingredient and mixing it perfectly before filling the paper tubes with the mash. Once our containers are full, seal the openings with Play-Doh. Take 2 small balls and put them in the paper tubes. Before moving on to the next material, make some holes in the clay with a pointed object. Take a bottle cap to use as a container for the magic powders that we will be extracting from these match heads with the help of our cutting pliers. Take a bottle of grade 96 solvent from your home medicine cabinet and pour a little into the cap before pouring in the powders. Start stirring them to get this sparkling paste. Cut a couple of pieces of string and place them delicately in the mix to obtain what will now be the wicks for the darts. Put the wick into the paper tubes and then insert them into the darts with the wick sticking out. These will eventually go into the syringes. The wires with the metal sponge strands will be inserted through the other hole in the syringes. They look extremely powerful, don't they? To hold the remote control darts together, we will use a thin popsicle stick. Cut a small piece and superglue it to the launchers on the syringe tabs. We are close to finally finishing our little secret spy project. Now, we only need to create a base with the pieces of this popsicle stick. On it, we'll build the remote-controlled electric circuit that will allow us to undertake our long-distance missions. The circuit will be taken from the nearest police car without them noticing. With this pile of pre-built wires in our possession, we will only need to glue the different pieces together and then make the appropriate connections. In the meantime, the video is almost over, and since I couldn't talk much to continue getting to know my beloved students, why don't you tell me what you're most looking forward to this year? Whether it's a movie, a video game, graduating, or maybe a trip. Finally, install our powerful defense system on top of a small drone. Ready for the spy mission? Control tower ready. Beginning reconnaissance mission and demonstration of effectiveness of the Mosquito R800 micro aircraft. Switching to drone camera. It does make an annoying sound identical to those unspeakable bugs. Hopefully our targets won't detect it. Launch the homing darts. What do you think? Pretty impressive, right? The future of espionage is just around the corner, and we will be the pioneers of this progress. Nothing can stop us. Thanks for watching our inventions made out of household items today. Follow my channel if you'd like to learn more about making simple yet incredible inventions. Also, click on the link to see more videos about my amazing inventions. Click on the link to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial.